For the last 20 years or so, a few things have been constant in almost everyone's everyday lives: death, taxes, and just like Christmas and the holidays that roll around every year, we've reached the release of another new Call of Duty game in Black Ops 6. Yes, Black Ops 6. I still remember having my mom pick up the very first copy of Black Ops for me when I was still in middle school, and here I am as a grown ass adult playing the sixth iteration of the Black Ops franchise. Call of Duty has been one of the most constant factors in gaming, with a new yearly release almost every year for the last 20 years. While some might miss the mark critically, you can all but guarantee that Call of Duty will be the top seller of that year, unless your name is Hogwarts Legacy, which managed to edge out Call of Duty last year. What this game has to offer this year around is going to be a campaign that is surprisingly good, and thankfully so after the poor reception of Modern Warfare 3's campaign. Then you have a very solid multiplayer offering that, at this moment, is mechanically sound, all the weapons feel great, but the maps themselves aren't the best, and there are a few perks and abilities that seem to be dominating a lot of the early days. Then lastly, you have the largest question mark for me, which was zombies. Jurek had previously worked on the zombies mode for Modern Warfare 3, but that was a departure from the normal formula of round based zombies for a more open world experience. It's simply not just round based zombies that has me hyped on this mode, but it's one of the things that elevates this mode up for me already, and that's before I begin to talk about the maps, the wonder weapons, or the Easter eggs. Black Ops 6 so far at launch is one of the most feature complete Call of Duty games that we've gotten in a long, long time. Each part of the game has something a little different that it's trying to offer and hopefully sink its hooks into you. And for me, I'm already 50 hours played in the first couple of weeks. And the best thing about all of this is if you're subscribed to the Ultimate tier of console or regular PC Game Pass, you get access to Black Ops 6 at no additional cost.
Coalition forces launched the operation 2 weeks ago against Saddam Hussein. They're taking out as many strategic targets from the air as possible.
Do it.
All stations, weapons free.
It's a biological weapon. And they put this in Saddam's hands too?
Isn't that your friend?
I went ahead and I played Black Ops 6 through the Game Pass app on PC, running an i7-13700K with an RTX 4080 Super with all the graphical settings turned up to their max values. Across the board in all the different modes, the performance was exceptional for me. Only once did I ever have a hard crash, and that was in the menus, so it's a good thing to report on the technical side. The cutscenes this time around follow the trend of the last couple of Call of Duties, where the fully rendered cutscenes look fucking amazing. There's honestly times where I forgot I'm watching a cinematic and not a movie, so whoever's in charge of those, keep it up because they look damn good. I would say that one of the biggest changes technically in this game, it's not actually how the game runs, but it's more so how the game plays and how it impacts all three different modes. So one of the biggest changes in this game is going to be the newly introduced Omni movement. What this does is allow you to live out your best Max Payne fantasies, jump around corners, swinging your body around.
Swung his body to the side, and that's how my shit was open, and he hit me. Boom, pow!
This movement allows you to sprint side to side, backwards and forwards, and also allowing you to slide in those directions as well. You aren't going to be forced to use this movement, and at times it might get you killed if you're trying to be a little too flashy, but it also does help add a little bit of nuance to the game's formula, no matter what mode you are deciding to play. After the disappointing reception to Modern Warfare 3's campaign last year, the past plans of having the mode available a week before the game's release, like the last 2 years, was seemingly scrapped in favor of this campaign coming out the same day as the rest of the game. I always liked that extra week that we got to kind of get just acclimated to the game in a sense, the movement, the guns, sort of how they felt, whatnot. And after the reception of Modern Warfare 3's campaign, many people were not expecting much out of Black Ops 6's campaign. But what followed over the course of the game's 8-ish hour runtime was a pretty trippy ride that had all of these Mission Impossible action sequences. One where you're sneaking into a benefit party for Bill Clinton, then you have another mission which is entirely open world with side objectives. And if you do all those side objectives, they actually net you some cool kill streaks that you can take advantage of in a later mission. There is one particular mission in the middle to back half of the game that I won't spoil, but if you've been hearing a lot of chatter about the game's story mode, this is a mission that a lot of people have highlighted, calling it the best in the game. I won't go ahead and ruin it for you, but it is pretty fucking sweet. So in Black Ops 6, you play as Special Agent William Case, working under Marshall and a disabled Frank Woods and his team. After some shady shit goes down at the start of the game, you're actually forced to go on the run, go off the grid, in order to still kind of carry out your missions and try to clear your name. Here you'll be introduced to one of my favorite features in the entire game, and that is called the Rook. The Rook functions as this team's base for the duration of the campaign, and at first you might think it's just a little bit of set dressing for you to walk around in between scenes of the main story missions, but it's actually so much more than that. You'll be tasked with fixing up the place early on, and while doing so, you'll be able to choose up to 3 different sections of the house to focus on, with each section of the house offering up a different set of skills and upgrades that then become available to you. How you go about unlocking these is with cash found in missions, which is also how you go about unlocking the other areas of the house as well. These upgrades range from increasing the amount of health that you have, the amount of plates, the amount of ammo that you can carry. The list goes on, but it incentivizes you to look around the maps for safes or just loose money that might be lying around to further upgrade your character and your skills. The Rook is also going to offer up its own little secret quest that you can kick off by picking up a black light in the main house and following some clues around. I think I spent maybe a good 30 minutes doing this, and the whole segment is something that you could totally miss and you don't have to do. I did want to see where the little mystery went, and you do get $1,000 to spend on some upgrades for solving it, so it's at least worth your time. The campaign missions themselves can be paced a little odd at times, but that doesn't drag down how I felt about the campaign as a whole. We got to see a few familiar faces like Adler and Park returning along with Woods. Then you have the introduction of Marshall, who is the head of the team along with Woods. You also then have Shiva and Felix rounding out the rest of the crew, and in past Call of Duty campaigns, we wouldn't have been nearly as attached to these players, albeit I was with the more recent Modern Warfare 2 story, so to each their own. The thing that they do here in Black Ops 6, in addition to being able to explore the Rook, is in between missions, you're able to actually have dialogue conversations with the different members of your team. Whether it's expanding on a plot point that was brought up last mission, or just shooting the shit around the fire having a beer. It helps you look at these characters as people and not just pieces moving around a chessboard for our amusement. Felix in particular has a really cool mission that also sheds a little bit of light on his past before joining the team, and then more layers of that proverbial onion get peeled back if you ask him questions after the mission. The missions themselves, like I said, will have you sneaking into a fundraiser, but while you're sneaking into that fundraiser, you actually can use one of 3 methods to get into that area, sort of like a black box mission in Assassin's Creed. Or you have an entirely guns blazing mission where you're driving a tank through an airport in the middle of a war zone, or you have one where you're stealthily going through an old military base, having to find different ways to take out the guards either through dialogue or guns blazing. We all expect COD games and COD campaigns in particular at this point to be a pretty simple 4 or 5 hour romp. And what they're able to do here with the missions and the mission design this go around was pretty impressive. I think it would actually be cool to see them expand and try their hand more on a fully open world campaign in the style of like Far Cry, but I'm not sure that's something they will get to do. But in the meantime, it's nice to see the campaign team take a swing and try out new things. Overall, I've got very few complaints with the campaign for Black Ops 6. The ending does leave a little bit more to be desired, with not that much resolution to what happens to the main antagonist or what lies in the future for Case, being as we do get a little bit more of his backstory throughout that main mission I was mentioning. They left it sort of ambiguous, but it does look like they will pick up the story in the post-launch Warzone storyline, like Cold War and past releases. I wouldn't go as far as to say that you should buy this game simply just for the campaign, but if you have Game Pass or you already own the game, I think it's more than worth your time to at least give the campaign a playthrough. You get some cool action set pieces, a good story that's reminiscent of many of the movies from the 90s. It's a pretty meaty story that leaves you with plenty to do, and some replay value depending on how you played some of those missions. Multiplayer in Black Ops 6 is going to function a lot like the past couple of Call of Duties. You've got your create a class, your perks, score streaks. If you've played COD at any time in the last couple of years, you know how it works. There are some differences this year around though, and so far they actually seem to be welcome additions, or at least in a few cases, welcome re-additions to the game after being removed for some time. I should start off this portion of the review by saying I've played and bought every COD since 2008, but it wasn't until I got to college where I was finally able to play the multiplayer side of the game and experience it to the fullest. Call of Duty used to be my main game every year, and while it still is sort of my main game, the main day-to-day driver for me is Destiny, but I still find myself coming back to play COD every year with the new release. Each multiplayer usually plays a little bit different from the past, offering up that freshness that some games tend to lose as the year goes on. I'm not saying COD is the great innovator, but there is a reason year over year why it remains one of the top games in sales numbers. You can always count on COD to have that tight feeling gunplay. You hop in, shoot the shit with your buddies, and have some fun. And this year, Black Ops 6 so far looks to be much more of that. I will say I've seen a lot of discussion online about the maps in the game, and while I don't hate them, I'm not exactly loving them either. There are 12 regular 6v6 maps, and then you have 4 smaller strike maps, which can be played in a 6v6 mode, but with score streaks being disabled. Like the past couple of COD games, I do also like to go for the Mastery Camo grind, which usually involves sacrificing a part of your soul to Satan, and then you get a cool camo in return. I do want to briefly touch on camos here. They have changed this up from past years, no longer requiring you to level up the gun to then unlock the challenges. The challenges themselves have actually also been simplified to just being 100 headshots with a ballistic weapon. Then you have a couple unique challenges, then a gold camo challenges, and so on and so forth. And so far, I've got about 7 guns gold myself, which I think it's maybe a little slower, maybe a little faster. I can't really tell just yet, but I'm trying to take my time this go around. The way that I play the game is also going to affect a lot of the maps that I play for a majority of the time. The regular 6v6 mode is a little slower at times when it comes to unlocking challenges, headshots, etc., versus doing them in a strike map playlist, which is a much more condensed and smaller map. So I do bounce from mode to mode, even with the Nuketown mode being added on November 1st as well. It all really just depends on whatever mood I'm in. But one of the biggest issues with the strike maps and a lot of the smaller maps isn't the maps themselves, but the actual perk system and how that works here within the game. Perks in Black Ops 6 are going to function somewhat like they did in the past, with each perk being assigned a particular color, and if you run 3 of the same color of perks, you'll get access to one of 3 buffs. Red is going to be your more offensive, while green is going to be more health, survival, XP based, that sort of thing. And then the blue one is going to be recon and information. The first 2 aren't the ones that many people are going to have issues with. It's that third one, the blue recon class. Because when you're running 3 blue perks, one of these special included perks that you get or benefits that you get is that you're able to see the enemies through walls when you're spawning in. And this isn't just like a little snapshot. This is a full live tracking red outline of the enemy while they're running around. This isn't that big of an issue in the regular 6v6 maps, but it's when you start to play those strike maps that they become kind of borderline unplayable at times. Everyone's going to be running that same setup just because of how small the maps are, and if everyone can see where everyone's at, there's not much that you're going to be able to do. There are some games I was able to get into where it wasn't that bad, but over time, I think more and more players will catch on to the tactic because it's really the only way you can fight back on these maps. It's a little broken, so use it while you can because I do expect a fix or a nerf down the line. And arguably one of the biggest things returning here in multiplayer is prestiging. Prestiging has finally returned in this game after being absent for so long in the Call of Duty franchise. And it's something that fans, myself included, have been begging for years. We did have a pseudo prestige system, but that was really just an overall level that kept climbing and climbing with each new season. And they would usually add 100 to 150 levels per season, and you were capped once you reached that. Whereas here in Black Ops 6, you have the ability to currently go up to over level 1000 with over 10 prestiges, and each prestige carrying its own unique unlock, rewards as you progress throughout those different ranks of the prestige as well. Multiplayer this go around will still seem very much similar to the past releases, but the game overall and how it plays has been the driving force that's kept me playing and having fun with the camo grind, rotating through all the maps, the different weapons, with one of my favorite aspects being that all the weapon XP and actually XP that you're earning will persist into the zombies mode, meaning that weapon levels, everything earned in zombies can also be applied to multiplayer and vice versa. Speaking of zombies, holy shit, they did it. I didn't think that I would be saying this, but I absolutely love zombies in Black Ops 6. Last year's Modern Warfare 3 was a decent experiment in an attempt to move away from that round-based formula, but after playing Black Ops 6 for just the opening week, I don't ever want to go back. The time that Treyarch had to cook here with this mode really shows this go around because unlike Cold War, we have 2 maps that launched this go around. With Liberty Falls being a more chilled back, lax, and easy map, it's going to be the one that I think a lot of people will start on, and I actually had a lot of fun running around. It's a tiny little town, you can easily kind of learn that layout of the map, where all the perks might be, super simple to learn. Then you're going to have Terminus, which is going to be your much more traditional zombies experience that sees you needing to turn on 3 generators, a moving pack-a-punch, multiple islands for you to discover, and a metric shit ton of Easter eggs for you to do. I'm not saying Liberty Falls isn't traditional, but when you play Terminus to Liberty Falls, you can definitely feel that there's a different vibe between the two. And the chase for the zombies mode will always be completing that Easter egg for most people and to see what other secrets you might be able to find, or if you just want to go for a high round gameplay. But in order to do those, you'll need to unlock your augments. Once you reach rank 11 in the game, you unlock something called augments. What these augments do is allow you to customize your perks, your ammo mods, and field upgrades with different abilities that change up how they function within the game. For instance, one of the earlier upgrades that I got for my field upgrade was the energy mine, turning it from a single detonation to a turret that would then stay and defend an area over time. Then you have another one for Jug that allows your armor that you have for Jug to act as a shield actually on your back. There's also one that increases your reload speed while walking. There's tons of different combos and different ways that you're going to be able to build these out. So just experiment, find out what you like best. I've easily put 20 to 25 hours into this mode alone so far, and I plan on putting a shitload more of hours into it. I completed the first Easter egg on Liberty Falls. I'm working on trying to get the second one done for Terminus, and it might not be like Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4, but all things considered, the last couple of years of zombies that we've had, I think we're eating pretty good here. There's tons of little Easter eggs on the maps, like bowling ball Easter eggs. Then you have one where you're gathering cooking ingredients and you're cooking a meal. Do I need to do this? No, but it's a little fun and it's weird, yes. But I think that's what makes zombies so unique for some people. Others will look to the mode and just want to run around, kill some zombies, try to go for a high round game. Then you have your others that will try to uncover every last little secret the map has to offer, and that's what makes zombies so great this go around and seems to offer plenty of that no matter what camp you reside in. I know I mentioned it at the top, but I truly do believe that Black Ops 6 is one of the most feature-complete Call of Duty launches in recent years. Where some of the previous Call of Duty games have felt like expansions or backward steps for the previous game in the franchise, it's nice to see that when a game comes out, it's in a really good state, it's not completely broken or unbalanced all to hell, minus a few perks in multiplayer. There aren't any guns that are currently dominating the meta, which isn't something that can be said for every Call of Duty release. While your mileage may vary depending on what the last Call of Duty game that you played and what you're looking for in the game, the barrier to entry this go around is going to be much easier than past years simply because it's available on Game Pass. There are going to be people out there that haven't touched Call of Duty in years that are going to give it a shot simply because all they got to do is download the game and give it a shot. Activision did announce that this release was the most successful launch in the series history over the opening 3-day period, which is in no thanks part to that inclusion of Game Pass. My biggest issues with the game are all pretty minor. The perks need a little bit of tweaking in multiplayer, maybe a few more maps. Zombies is arguably in the best shape that it's been in nearly 4 years. Tons of customization, ammo mods, 2 vastly different maps that offer up a more casual experience and then a more traditional experience, but both having tons of Easter eggs and secrets set between them both. Campaign was such a welcome surprise, and early on I went from saying I'll play it eventually to starting it up and playing nearly half the campaign in one sitting and then finishing it up the next day. I find myself bouncing from multiplayer, zombies, back and forth between the two, and I even found it hard to pull myself away to do this review. So after I'm done with this review, I'm going to get back to playing some Call of Duty. So whatever mode that you want to play or you decide to play if you pick it up, I'm sure you'll find something that you can enjoy. If you did make it this far, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day, and this has been my review for Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Thank you for watching.
And there can be no doubt, Operation Desert Storm is working.